Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Carla here with Benchmark Realty, your local realtor in Clarksville, Tennessee. And today, in honor of Veterans Day, I wanted to highlight the VA loan since we do live in a huge military town. And I brought my colleague Daniel Page with Castle Rock Mortgage on my channel again to help discuss this loan product, the highlights, and some common myths and misconceptions about the loan. So Welcome, Daniel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here again on my channel. I really appreciate your time.
No, I always appreciate being on your channel. I love giving out the information. Education is always pretty big, and honestly, the VA is my bread and butter, so I love talking about this subject.
We do VA loans. Well, I should say you. I'm the realtor. He's the lender. But we do VA transactions all the time. Very popular loan, especially in the Clarksville area.
Yep.
So let's get right into the highlights of the VA loan. Daniel, can you tell us about the benefits of using the VA loan?
Yes, the biggest thing is there's no money down, which is huge. Saves a ton of money. I mean, of course, they got closing costs and prepaids, but that's her job to kind of negotiate and kind of see if we can get the seller to help out on that. But the down payment alone is a massive benefit for the VA loan. And also just the flexibility, a lot of flexibility with it. Definitely gives us an avenue to be super creative when creative times are needed.
Absolutely. And what's your favorite thing about the VA loan, you personally?
For me, since we do so much, it's a little streamlined for me, meaning it's pretty straightforward. As long as I know my stuff, which I do know my stuff, it's very easy for me to navigate, and the pre-approvals for us are going to be pretty quick just because everything's straightforward. You give me your rank, I know what your pay is going to be. I know what your BAH is going to be when you get here, where you're PCSing to. So again, pretty straightforward stuff.
So myth number one is you have to have a perfect credit score or perfect credit to qualify for the VA loan.
Yeah, definitely not.
Not the case.
Definitely not the case. You'll see a lot of people, or even in the VA handbook, technically there is no credit score minimum for the VA, but that's where the lenders, me, come into play, where each company, each lender is going to have a different baseline of what they're willing to accept. So I'll give you an example. Some lenders may only go down to 620 on VA, rather than some go down to 550, 580. Some lenders allow manual underwrites, some don't. So there's a lot of things that play into a factor of it, but in a nutshell, you don't need to have perfect credit. And if you don't have a credit score, believe it or not, there are lenders out there who can do it without a credit score, us, by using different non-traditional trade lines to help out. But understand, do not let that steer you away from applying or just seeing what you're qualified for, because honestly, that myth definitely steers a lot of people away.
Yes, definitely. That is a huge one we hear all the time.
All the time.
Myth number two, you have to be a combat veteran to qualify and be eligible for the VA loan.
Definitely false. You know, honestly, believe it or not, guys, even National Guard and Reserves could qualify. There are certain criteria you guys do have to meet. Not necessarily you've been deployed or been to combat. You have to meet a certain timeline of years in the National Guard or Reserves in order to qualify. The same thing goes with if you're active duty. You do not have to be deployed or going into combat at any point in order to qualify for a VA loan. Just you being active duty is typically all you need. You have to be on an uncertain time period if you just started, but you do not have to be deployed nor in combat in order to use that.
It is really important that you are honest and upfront with your lender out the gate, because the lender does pull your COE to make sure that you are in fact eligible for the VA loan.
Yep, that COE is your certificate of eligibility, and it gives me every opportunity to see if you do qualify for a VA loan. And let's just say I can't pull it up in the VA portal. I'm going to ask you for certain documentation, and we send it up to the VA, and they're going to dictate whether or not you are eligible or not. So either way, we're going to find out.
Right, absolutely. All right, myth number three, you can only use your VA loan once.
Woo! Probably, I think that would be the biggest one that I hear the most.
You hear it all the time.
All the time. And no, you can use the VA loan multiple times. There really is no limit technically. And another thing is you can actually have more than one VA loan out at once. It just depends on what your eligibility looks like and how much entitlement you have left. But no, the VA loan is not a one and done. You guys, you could, sell and go buy another house, or you can keep it rented out down the road and then go buy another house as well. So purely up to you, but no, definitely can use the VA loan more than once.
All right, myth number four, the VA appraisal process takes too long.
Yeah,
We hear that one all the time too.
All the time, and again, I'm going to reiterate: there's really nothing different from a VA appraisal than a conventional in the aspect of time frame wise. You know, honestly, we don't have any ties with the appraiser, no matter what loan product you pick. So honestly, it's up to the appraiser. You know, I've had one on a VA. We order it, they actually went out the next day, and we had to report back in 2 days.
Yes.
Conventional, I've had one that took 2 weeks to go out. So you know, honestly, it's really just down to the appraiser itself.
And who gets assigned the appraiser.
That, oh yeah, 100%. And then again, another myth we'll kind of piggyback off of that is, you know, the VA requires too many repairs. Again, I'm going to say that's false, just because as long as there's no really safety hazards, you're not going to get stiffed too hard. There are a few things that I will annotate and just let you know, like, you know, if there's any kind of paint chipping on a railing, they're going to tell you to repaint it. Hand railings are pretty big for VA. That's just a VA guideline. But outside of that, nothing.
Some downspouts.
Yeah, some downspouts for sure.
Yes.
But again, very small, typically cosmetic stuff on that kind of stuff. But as a whole, as long as there's no hazards, you're not going to get stiffed very hard on a VA appraisal.
Yes, and we see appraisals come back, like Daniel mentioned a second ago. They come back, you know, standard times. They don't tend to take any longer than other loan types. So that's definitely, that's a myth that needs to be busted.
Yep.
All right, myth number 5. VA loans have too many unexpected costs associated with them.
Big misconception. There's really no difference typically, especially, well, for us, I'll say, I can't speak for other companies, but for us, there's really no additional cost at all on a VA loan compared to any other loan products that we offer. The biggest thing people tend to look at is that funding fee. Guys, that funding fee is rolled into your loan, so technically you don't have to pay out of pocket. You are financing a little bit more than what you're purchasing the house for. But again, it's a trade-off of like, hey, I'm still not putting any money down. So there's really no expensive out of cost or out of pocket cost, because that funding fee can be rolled into your loan. You can pay it if you want, but most people will just roll it in. So no, nothing funky about that. And if you happen to get out and you start receiving some kind of disability from the VA, well, that funding fee is waived, and now there's no argument of saying, hey, this loan is expensive because you don't have that funding fee.
You don't even have the funding fee if you're getting the disability after you exit the military. And make sure you guys watch till the end, because Daniel and I are going to be saving one of the biggest myths to talk about at the end of this video. All right, myth number 6, there's too much government red tape with a VA loan, or that you're limited to how you can use it. Yeah,
you know, honestly, a lot of people look at the VA loan as kind of a black and white kind of view, which not necessarily. You could definitely do 100% finance, construction to perm if you wanted to. We actually offer that. We just rolled that out. They actually have VA rehab loans out there as well. We don't offer that, but there are loan or companies out there that do offer it. But it allows you to kind of go in there, maybe do a little rehab on a house, maybe a little fixer-upper. That kind of helps you on that. I don't want you guys to think that the VA loan is limited. You guys have just as much flexibility as pretty much any other loan product.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the major reasons that you want to connect with a lender that works with VA loans, is familiar with the loan product, so they can educate you with what it all has to offer.
Yep, 100%.
All right, on to our next myth is that the VA loan is hard to obtain or qualify for if you're deployed or stationed overseas.
Yep. Again, it falls under the occupancy rule. And, you know, guys, honestly, if you have a family, wife or spouse, kids and all that, well, if they're going to be moving to your potential next duty station and you're deployed or overseas, they will meet that occupancy requirement. There's a little extra stuff that we have to check to make sure you qualify. There's additional living expenses we do have to count in with you being separated from your family. But it's not to say that, hey, if I'm PCSing here to Fort Campbell, but I'm somehow going to get deployed to, overseas for the time being, your spouse can sign for you as a POA, and you guys can still close here at Fort Campbell or anywhere else.
Yeah, remote closings, we do it all the time.
Remote, yep.
Again, we're a huge military demographic here, being close to Fort Campbell. So we do this type of thing all the time.
All the time. And you know what? What we do is just, again, to reiterate, we do make sure that, we do have to speak to that person at least once.
The veteran.
Make sure, that they do understand that they are buying a house and that spouse just isn't
signing
taking it
for them.
Yep, just not taking it away from them, just buying the house unexpectedly.
Yes.
I do have to have some kind of communication from that person.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. All right, moving on to the next myth is that using a VA loan, you can roll all your closing costs into the loan.
Again, that's probably, if not it's definitely at the top of what I hear the most. And no, that is false. Again, you don't have a down payment, but again, there are closing costs and prepaids, which equates to that cash to close. And unfortunately, we cannot, nor any other lender can roll that cost into your loan. There are certain times where it is allowed, and that's literally if that property appraises for more. So
Yes.
I'll give you a great example. You're buying a house for $200,000 and it appraises for $210,000. You can roll up to $10,000 of your closing costs into that loan.
Right.
If you're buying the house for $200,000, it appraises for $200,000, then no, that is a no-go.
And for our final myth of the day that we are going to bust, this is a huge one, and Daniel and I hear it all the time, is that VA loans have higher interest rates.
By far, probably, yeah, that is the biggest myth. I chat with a lot of clients daily, and a lot of people will ask me, hey, well, can we run a scenario what it looks like with a conventional if I did a down payment, even if a VA, if you wanted to put a down payment? I always tell them, guys, honestly, any kind of government loan that you obtain is typically going to be a lot more aggressive than the standard conventional. And it's not typically even in the ballpark per se, just based on your credit score and situation. But I will tell you 100% that government loans are going to be a lot more aggressive on the rates than the standard conventional loans.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear this myth every day.
All the time. It's always fun to debunk it. I run a side-by-side scenario with these clients, and I'm like, hey, that's just the reality of it. The government loan is backed, and that's why you're seeing such a lot more aggressive rates than standard conventional.
And especially right now with the shift and slowing of the market, with the higher interest rates compared to the past few years, a lot of them are getting into homes right now with no money down, no down payment, and having the sellers pay for their closing costs. So that is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yeah, it's definitely a big benefit to you guys. It doesn't take very much for that market to shift rate-wise, or the floodgates to open up, because any kind of slight shift to where it's going to favor that buyer or favor the rates, understand you're going to start seeing that faucet turn on pretty quick with buyers flooding the market. So, the biggest thing right now is just maybe find something that you like, find something that you're comfortable with, try to get in and save thousands of dollars so you don't have to fork that up later. And you really got to ask yourself, what's most important to you? Is it going to be that monthly payment? Or is it going to be the money out of pocket? And if you are very, maybe very focused on that interest rate, my biggest tip, honestly, is between now and to whenever you buy, you need to tuck away as much money as you can, because when it gets competitive, money is what you need in order to compete.
Yes, so I tell my buyers, if you want to save some money right now when the market is slowed and shifted, you can definitely take advantage of the market right now and try to get the sellers, see if they are open to paying your closing costs. All right, guys, I hope this myth busting was helpful. Hope you learned something new today that maybe you didn't know before. And as always, I want to thank Daniel for coming onto the channel. Thank you so much for your time today to educate the audience on the VA loan product. You will hear a lot of these myths floating around, and education is key. So if someone's trying to dissuade you from using the loan product, even though you're eligible for it, please reach out to a lender. Talk to a different lenders, get a second opinion, all of that.
It's always nice to have a second opinion if another lender is kind of trying to persuade you to use a different loan product. Because again, like Carla said, it is education at the end of the day. And I will tell you, most of the time, guys, whenever I do a side-by-side compared to every loan product, the VA typically wins. So.
Yes. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And again, I want to say a huge thank you to all our veterans and service members. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service to our country and commitment to our country, and to the family members as well. We honor you. We thank you.
Yep, and you know what? I'm not going to let her get away with it. Carla, she did serve, so that day is for you. And so we appreciate you and your service. And I truly do love working with Carla. Amazing person. But again, thank you for your service.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Take care, and thank you so much for watching.
Yep, see you guys soon.
Bye. And you're limited to what you can
do your better thing.
I don't know. All right, this wraps up the video. Oh, no, I don't want to say that.
So I would say honestly, we need to cut that part out.
We'll edit it.
So so what did I prepare at? So
okay, we can just Okay, what am I saying?
I don't know. This is the Carla show.
All right, you guys, that concludes the myths today. I hope this